on the world. We're gonna take on the world. Standing tall, we gotta make it our own. No waiting around. Winners would never look down. No one can stop us, we got it. The future is right in our hands. Give it 100%. We're gonna take on the world. Yeah, we gotta move. Speaking the truth. Yeah, paying our dues. We making the news. Yeah, we hitting the roof. No, we don't wanna lose. Climbing and shaking the walls. We gotta break all the rules. We're gonna take on the world. 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 Feeling the kid.
Hi everyone, this is Nilesh here from SAS Tribe, and I'm joined by Win. Hey Win, how are you doing?
Hey, Nilesh.
Excellent.
Subscribe.
Yeah, we haven't done a live stream in a while, and I'm sure everybody's busy, but we're busy, and there's not that many great tools coming up as well. But we should pick up on some decent tools and talk a little bit about it. So yeah, there it is. And today, so we're going to talk a little bit about cold outreach, cold email outreach, and it is a very broad topic. So we might not be able to cover every single thing today, but maybe we can do it in sessions. We can do it as a series, and talk a little bit about cold email outreach based on what I know and Win what you know. And if anybody who's watching who considers themselves as a subject matter expert or something you want to share which you think is valuable to others, to the community, you are more than welcome to DM me, and we will invite you on the live stream as well. So with that said, I hope everyone's weekend is going great, and what a perfect ending to a weekend with a cold email outreach live stream. What do you think, Win? How's that?
Yeah, well, yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
So hey, Lyle is here. Lyle is saying, "Hey guys, just popping in briefly to say hi." Hey Lyle, long time. I hope all is well with you. And yes, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to stick around. But if you, I'm sure, probably it's a bit late. You want to put your kids to sleep and stuff. So if you don't hang around, maybe you can watch the replay later on. But good to see you here. I think you are our only audience right now, but we haven't done any live streams in a while, so we are to be blamed ourselves, and a little bit on AppSumo because there's not that many great tools coming in these days. But yes, Wing, where do we start? Cold email outreach. Before we start, I just want to say, don't take anything out of this as anything as a legal advice. You just make sure you follow all the laws, rules, regulations. Cold email outreach is legal as long as you follow those rules and regulations, right? You have to follow the local rules and regulations. So with that, yes, go ahead, Win.
So before we get started, I just want to share a view with you. I don't know. Actually, nobody here would probably know. I've moved house recently, and I'm staying at my in-laws' house in the same city. We're moving up the country to another spot where, whatever. But for the next couple months, we're spending time here. So my wife and her mum can spend time together. Anyway, got the best view, and I want to share it with you.
Yeah. Go ahead. Oh wow.
Check it out.
Oh, that's
Beautiful here.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So every time I'm looking out the window, it's because I'm watching a boat, drifting past, and it's just so nice. Just beautiful.
And what bay is that? What bay is that?
This is Wellington Harbour.
So that's the Wellington Harbour. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so Wellington is the capital of New Zealand, and that's the harbour. And what's great for me as a surfer, or somebody who tries to surf at least, I'm a moderately good surfer, not great, but I enjoy it. That's the main thing. But the surf is literally 5 minutes drive down the road for me, so it's just awesome. And I am going for a surf after.
Do you get good surf there in Wellington? Is there a lot of good big surf?
Not big surf. Probably gets overhead fairly regularly. So when I say overhead, you reach up. That's kind of overhead. Typically, it'll probably you get surf coming in. That's like that.
Yeah.
That's enough to have fun on. Get out in the sun and have a splash in the cold water, get some exercise, and pretend that you're young again. It's great.
Oh, it's great. That's good. Yeah. That's the way to live life. You got to enjoy it for sure.
I think so. I think you got to keep having fun experiences, even if you do get older. So I think, like the topic I suggested to you the other day is that we do cold outreach. Why I suggested that is not because I'm an expert. My expertise is in engineering and technical things. More recently data engineering. I am a marketer, and and I have done some cold outreach. But I consider you more. You built an entire business off this. So, one thing I would kind of like as a format today is kind of like me asking you questions, but also because you've actually built up an entire agency. I won't say how much money you were making. I think Henry's the only guy that would do something like that. He'd stand over you and tell you how much money he was making, but. But you had a pretty successful business from what you were telling me, and so I'd like to kind of like use this as a format to ask you some questions. But also, I have had some experience. There are some parts of cold emailing that I've had experience with and had some success with. So maybe we could do that, and maybe if I suggest a bit of a format for doing that. So what I'd like to do is kind of suggest a bit of an agenda. Sure. So in this order, and I'll kind of direct it, and you just answer my questions, and then maybe you ask me questions back, but I'll try and keep it with some kind of semblance of logic with the train of thought that we go through, if you don't mind. So first of all, how to generate a lead list, a relevant lead list, how to qualify those leads, how to personalize the emails. So 1, 2, 3, number 4, high volume, low quality versus low volume, high quality. So I want to talk a bit about that as a subject. And then the next subject is then talking about automation and, what should go into that. So if you're cool with that, how's that sound?
Sounds great. Yes. So 2 things. I mean, yeah, I've done a decent amount of cold outreach. Majority of my cold outreach was through like phone calls, but I have sent out some targeted emails for sure. So
Same idea, same idea, same idea. And if you want to talk about cold calling versus cold email, I think the same probably applies because, correct me if I'm wrong, with the cold calling, you still would have done a decent amount of research on each prospect before you called them up. Would that be correct?
yes, so yes and no. I mean, so there are two things, right? Like first of all, we are talking about what's like the lifetime value for of a customer. That really
Yep.
depends on what you have to offer, right? Like what you're
Mm-hmm.
selling. I mean, so if you are selling something which does not require uh, like very targeted type of like email, right? Like your targeted list, like you have focusing on a mass market and really a volume versus like a high value, a low volume and high value targeted kind of thing, right? So there are two different things. So mine is more of like very targeted, very specific. So I never sent out like emails to thousands of people.
All
I
right.
actually had people do a lot of research, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, let's do
Yes,
that in the order. But there's a lot of good stuff there,
yeah,
and I think the philosophies we're going to talk about um, hopefully will be helpful. For me, I'm treating this as a learning experience. I want you to hear me on this. Like, I'm not going to try and portray myself as an expert here and treat this as an open discussion where we can share ideas. I think a lot of that should be like that. The
yeah.
less that we come to these forums, pretending that we're experts at everything, I think
We are
the
not.
better. I mean, we are experts at some things. Like if you ask me anything to do with, Google Tag Manager or maybe even Google Analytics or how to blend data together and API connections, I probably could talk for days
Hundred
without
percent.
stopping. But
100%. That's
but
your thing. Analytics. If you ask me anything about routing, switching, enterprise networks, enterprise collaboration, contact centers, I can do a lot. But this is not my
exactly
area of expertise, right? This is just a
right.
means
But,
of me.
but we're using it as a forum to build our businesses, right? So then, therefore,
Yes,
we are curious about it. We want to learn. We want to get better at it, and we want to
100%.
share with you guys. But we also want you to share with us. And so, as we're
100%.
talking, and if you guys have got like ideas that we haven't considered, and or even if you want to come on, let Neelish know, and that will help to have a better forum for what we're doing here. But okay, let's get started.
Let's do it. Yes.
Generating a lead list. I think let's start there. In my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong. So this is a question to you. In my opinion, would it be fair to say that the quality of the lead list that you generate is, if we're talking about Pareto principle and the 80-20, do you feel as though that's probably like the most important part of the 80-20 by generating the lead list or the quality and the relevance of that lead list?
100%. 100%. So in terms of lead lists, there are a few things which I did, um, especially, and this might not be applicable to every single field, but you want to see where your target audience is hanging out, right? Like if your target audience is on Facebook, you want a target audience on Facebook, right? Like my target audience, most of it is on LinkedIn, most of it,
Yep.
right? Like so,
Yep.
uh, being LinkedIn being a professional network, right? So I know exactly the kind of people I'm looking for, right? Who do I want to talk to? So I want to talk to anybody who's into the upper echelons of management, right? Like so anything who's like ideally a CEO would be the right person to talk to. Of course, they're not always available, right? So somebody who's either a VP, a director, maybe a manager, and then depending on again on the size of the organization, right? For most part, I did a lot of qualification with uh, uh, specifically on with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So LinkedIn Sales Navigator is really very powerful tool. Like it would allow me to search for the people who I want to contact, the type of people who I want to contact, the kind of keywords I'm looking for in their profiles, their positions, their geographic location, where they are. I want to also see what other technologies they have, right? Like uh, so what I would do is we would have a sales guy. We would do some research, and the people we want to target, right? They would come into our HubSpot. So Sales Navigator has a direct integration with HubSpot. So all those people would come into our HubSpot, and then we actually have specific data points for them, right? So, hey, what does this guy like? Right? I mean, do they like ice hockey, right? So if you're going to talk to them about ice hockey, right? I was just like, oh, what a game yesterday was, right? And they're like, hey, were you there for the game? I was like, yeah, I was. I was there for a game with Cisco. I was like, hey, lucky you. I want to go for a game next time. So I was like, yeah, sure. So you gotta pick up on what people like, right? And you want to, it's not about you. It's more about them. So you want to understand what they are, right? Like what challenges they have, right? It's not about me trying to sell something. I'm not selling something. I just want to connect with people first of all, right? So you can do that through phone call, through email, but having the right list, sales LinkedIn Sales Navigator was one of my all-time favorite tools, and I'm sure it has gotten better. Of course, there are other tools. There is like
Yeah.
so many different tools I used for like grabbing phone numbers, emails. I should compile a list and share that. Maybe I'll share that later
I'm
on.
gonna talk about a few of those now.
Yes.
Um, okay, so we've got Sales Navigator, and that's extremely good for a few scenarios. Number one, you're presuming that the CEO or the founder or the marketing director or the HR target that you are after is somehow active within LinkedIn. That's and I guess the Sales Navigator indicate that.
Yeah, yeah. So, like in terms of the title, yes, it will show you. It will allow you to filter by their respective positions and titles. So, absolutely, it allows you to do that.
Uh, do you, I mean, obviously you need the people to be active as well. So how do you tell if somebody's active on LinkedIn?
You can tell that by looking at some of their posts, right? Like what they are sharing on some of their activity, right? If you try to connect with them, you can find out. I mean, we have an inside salesperson to do all of that, to just make
Yep.
sure that we're doing the research. Um,
Okay, so you have a separate researcher on your team, or when you were doing this, you had a separate person on your team that was helping you to once you figured out your targets, then you'd have somebody else go in there and do extra research on each of those targets. Is that how that works?
yeah, yeah, we have to do research on and make it personable, right? Like that's the number one thing because it's all about quality, right? Like so, if you connect with the person and it takes time, right? It's not going to happen right away. Just because they talk to you does not mean that they're going to give business to you the next day. Especially the enterprise business is a little bit, hard to win, right? So you're talking of like 2 months, 3 months time period before they actually offer you something to work on. And when they actually offer
Right,
you to work on something, you have to build that trust that they're gonna go with you, right? Because again, they have choices, and that project,
right,
just the pre-sales portion is going to go on for like depending on the size of the project, can go on for another 3 months, 6 months. But once you actually win the project, it's to be a larger project, right? You're talking of
hmm
a
hundreds
much,
of thousands or even millions of dollars worth of
yeah,
business that you can come through that
yes,
one
hundred
business.
percent, yes.
Okay, so let's keep on the topic of generating lead lists. So one of the tools that I came upon, or there's was a tool called Import.io. So what you'd do is you
Yes.
would there's a few of them out there, but what you do is you use tools like this to go and scrape the data off these websites, right? So you would
Yes.
find uh, you'd extract URLs, you'd extract and then you'd use a tool like Apollo, which is very similar to leads. What's that tool that you get people's emails? There's lots of them out there, but
Oh,
some
there's
of
lots
these
of them.
tools are better.
Salesforce used to run it too. Hey, Wayne, just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna acknowledge a few people who just joined.
Oh yeah, sure.
Sajwal had joined here, and then Sam had joined. Hey, Sam. Alberto had joined as well.
I'd do a better job, but I can't see because I've only got one screen at the moment.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just gonna do some running commentary here. So, hey Sam,
Yeah.
hey Alberto, Sajwal is here as well. Sajwal is saying, "Hello. Looks like Nilesh got new home office location." No, Sajwal is the same location. I actually plan to do more videos from our office. I'm building a rig, so it will allow me to do more videos from the office. But yeah, this is the same. I used to have a gray background paper, which a thunder gray background paper, and that's gave it a different look. Um, but once my paper was hanging from the top here, and my dog decided to do something, and
Oh
the whole
no.
thing came down. So I didn't want to risk it. So yeah, that's the same background. So anyway, going back to the
Exactly.
topic. When yes, go ahead.
So generating lead lists. So data miner and this other one called Importio. You can use them for scraping data off these websites and for finding out, for then storing that in like some kind of spreadsheet. Whether it's the name of certain people, their titles, etc., etc. And then another tool, because we're talking about, we're still on the topic of generating lead lists, and so if the most important part of this whole thing is getting a relevant lead list, then we've got to start off with the assumption about who it is that we're targeting and what
100%. So
problem. And
yeah,
what,
so
yeah,
there are so many different tools, and a lot of tools which you come on AppSumo, they're probably taking data from somewhere else, right? Like, so there are a few industry leaders, and then everybody who's on AppSumo is taking data, data mining basically, and taking that data and adding that to the tool. So once somebody goes and complains, hey, I don't have any data for any companies in UK, so that developer will go and scrape some data and then add the data from to. So, but there are only a few players, handful of players who actually have a lot of data, right?
yeah,
Salesforce used to allow you. I don't know what their tool was called, but they acquired this company. They would allow you to submit data and take data. So they would allow you. So every time you submit somebody's data, right, you earn points. So based on their points, you take somebody else's contact information and give some. Also, it's like a give and take kind of thing. But I think Salesforce stopped it. But yeah, if you have a list of people, sky's the limit, right? Like, I mean, you can pretty much get their contact information from various sources. You just want to target, first of all, you want to target which type of companies, what type of verticals you want to go with, and then you can
yeah.
find the people there. Salesforce Navigator, just a Sales Navigator, makes it a lot more easier, but certainly there are other enterprise level tools. So if you work for like Cisco Systems, or if you work for uh, bigger companies, vendors in my channel space, then you get. I think there is a, what is it called, Zoom or something? Not the Zoom meeting, but there is another tool called Zoom something, or I don't remember exactly what tools like now, but yes, you can get
Oh,
all
it's
that
just WebEx.
connected.
So you're talking about WebEx.
No, not WebEx. I'm talking about cold prospecting, like the contact details, like the for cold prospecting. You have all this data, like of millions and millions of users, which you have access to, and you can get that for a particular geography, particular vertical. Who are and it's all relevant. Like it's always updated. So of course, people change jobs and things that happen, but for most part, it is relevant. Like if you work for like an enterprise, you can get that data. Only for small business, you have to do some sort of a research, right? For sure.
So Sajwal is saying that he reckons that Import.io looks like something that Robomotion could do. Sajwal, I reckon that we should do a call and you show us how to do that. Because I got Robomotion, and Robomotion I find very confusing to use. Even though I'm a JavaScript coder, I'm like sitting there going, oh my God, this tool is driving me batshit crazy. Sorry, but I mean, it does. Anyway, okay, so that's great news. I've got Robomotion. Cool, that's one tool I don't have to buy as long as it's not too hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's step back one step. I think one step that we've missed is talking about building personas. Now, if you've done the Updix training, we did we got the I forget what his name is. We got the Updix guy on here, and you did an interview with him, Neelish.
Patrick.
He's actually got some really good free training that you can do if you go to Updix University.
Yeah,
Um,
you can
and the
do.
one,
I think if you buy like if you had purchased like 5 codes or a 5 stack, and then they had actually 10 codes for that. But you would get his cold to gold emailing course. And Patrick seems like a very passionate about his
yeah, it's all right. It's good.
codes.
But the big learning from that is starting off with this persona. So he was saying that big thing I took away from his training was that you're not after well, if you can get a big list of thousands of people, I mean that's great. But the big thing that you're trying to do is you're trying to come up with personas. So you go, okay, am I dealing with CEOs of IT companies who need outsourcing help? Right. That's and are those businesses based in the US? Do they have 1 to 50 employees? So that's an example of a persona, right? So you're niching down or niching down uh, on a very specific, a very narrow persona, and then you're building up these lead lists. And what that enables you to do then is then to fine tune the problem that you're talking about, the pain point that you're solving, the benefit of the solution that you're giving. You're able to tune that message very, very, very sharply to just these people. And so, like I said, I'm learning at this. I'm not giving this as if I'm teaching you this, but I'm asking Nilesh, and then kind of throwing it back. So that's one of the things that I got out of that. And I mean, is that something that you did in your is that something you can talk to Neelish? Did you do anything like that? I know you're using Navigator, but how would you use Navigator? Would you go, okay, is it people that are using Cisco? Is it CEOs? Are there specific sizes of companies that you're after? Did you work with certain companies in certain
Yeah,
countries?
yeah,
How does that
yeah,
work?
yeah. So I mainly worked with companies which are based here in Canada and US, and I have one single customer who has a big presence in Asia, and they have a massive presence in Asia and some presence in Canada. And the company is based in Hong Kong, right? Shangri-La Hotels. So it took me a while to get into that particular account. And but they have a presence here in Canada. They have a property here in Canada. So as far as going back to research, like yes, I had like couple of customers who have like a presence all over North America. Then one person, customer, and these are big properties, big customers. They're luxury hotels, right? Uh, but for most part, the research goes this way. Um, in Sales Navigator, I'm looking for specific companies which have or specific people who have certain keywords into their profile, into their LinkedIn profile, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can get that through doing some search, right? You'll have to do a combination of searches to get the right results. But as soon as you get the result, you can add all that and filter all those people into your funnel, into your HubSpot CRM, because the Salesforce Navigator directly connects to HubSpot and allows me to add people in there. Now, not every single information of that person might be there, but that's the second step, right? At least I know who I want to contact to, right? If you don't know who you want to contact to, that's the really difficult part. Then you'll have to go into just making a blank sales call and talk to a receptionist and say, "Hey, I just had a meeting with your director, but I forgot his name. Sorry, what was his?" And then she was like, "Oh, you want to talk to Doug? Oh, okay, sure. Yes, I want to talk to Doug." You could do that, right? But ideally, you don't want to. You don't want to get there. So you want to
Your
do
acting
something better.
skills aren't that good, right? Your acting skills aren't that good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I actually we had a guy who was a professional actor, and he would do sales call, and he was brilliant. I actually should bring one couple of his calls on the sales. I mean, he was good at initiating the conversation, right? Like, he wasn't good on the technical side of things. If somebody asks him something, he's going to be like, "Oh, I'm not sure what you're talking about." But he was really good. So anyway, I digress. Going back to the topic, I would also work a lot with Cisco account managers, right? So I would just send them a list, or I would ask them to give me a list. And you would be amazed at how many people have a list. So account managers, when I work in a channel, have a list of customers. They have a target customer base. They have
Hold
a,
on.
okay,
So you're talking about account managers. How are you connected with these account managers? And two, why would they give these lists to you?
okay, interesting question. So I work in the channel. So my business is based on a partnership I have with Cisco Systems, or HP, and there are certain things I work on with these companies, right? So we are a channel partner for them. Now Cisco might have hundreds and thousands of channel partners, but we are a specialized channel partner for contact centers. Now, it is in the interest of the Cisco account manager that somebody qualified works with their customer to implement or position a
I
product.
see.
Uh,
I see.
so if I sell, I'm selling it through a channel, and the credit will also go to the account manager. The account
Gotcha.
manager has a sales goal. I don't, because okay, it's my company, but at the
Okay.
same time, I still have a goal to
Gotcha.
drive revenue. So
Right.
so I'm in a way helping the account manager at
Gotcha.
Cisco to drive. So my goal and the Cisco account manager's goal are aligned a lot of times. So he's going to
I
do
see.
everything in his power to help me get the contact, make an introduction, get me a meeting. I will go and do the talking. So I've got a lot of leads, a lot of introductions, and those are the best ones, right? Like, I've had customers who I
You,
was introduced to 4 years ago, 5 years ago when I started, and they're still my customers.
This is an interesting concept.
Yeah,
Ironically, okay. So remember that tool that we did it, or we did an interview with, that analytics tool. I think they were called. I was excited about it,
yeah.
but I never bought it. I can't remember what its name is. Anyway, they used Fivetran as a backend. Remember that?
Sorry, say that again.
You remember that business that uses Fivetran as a backend for their
Oh
data
yeah, yeah,
pipeline?
yeah, yeah, yes. Gyana.
Yeah, no. There you go. You got a better memory than I do. Anyway, so we're working with Fivetran now. We use them quite a lot for a lot of the data connections that we get. So we get the data out of Fivetran's got like 250 plus connections now. So whether it's Klaviyo or Shopify or Google Ads or Facebook ads, you name it, you can make a connection with those data points and then put them in any data warehouse of your choosing, whether it's a MySQL, PostgreSQL, BigQuery, Redshift, Snowflake, whatever, any data warehouse that you want, it can put the data into it. So that's their specialty. They're not a Zapier. They simply get it from somewhere, anywhere, generally, put it into a data warehouse. Anyway, so we
So
started using them because we're having problems.
That concept is called extract, transform, and load. And then
Right,
you have
ETL, right.
the reverse ETL as well, extract, reverse ETL. So I recently shared a tool, and now we are completely getting a little bit away off topic. But
Yeah, we're going to come back to the cold email. But anyway, sorry, let me finish this.
No. So there is a tool called Airbyte. Check it out. Airbyte.
Airbyte.
Yeah, I made a post on it in our group. It's called Airbyte.com.
Okay, I'll put this up on my thing. I'm going to have a look at it later. I'm big on these tools, by the way. But anyway,
open source, valued at close to I think it's valued at close to $2 billion.
Come on, man! You can't split me off like this. I'm going to talk about this tool now. That's crazy. So is this like Segment? Is this similar to Segment? Is that what it is?
It's a little bit different. They recently acquired a company as well, but it's open source. It makes it really easy for you to build your own connectors as well. And ETL is a very, very interesting concept. I think Ghana was using Fivetran, but Fivetran is super expensive.
Holy heck. So this one is, did you say this is open source?
Yeah, it's open source if you self-host it, right? But if you go with their cloud, they give you $1,000 of credit, right? So whatever data, so typically I need ETL when I'm migrating a CRM. That's the number one. What's that?
I said, how did I miss this?
Yeah, so I need ETL when I'm migrating a CRM, because migrating a CRM, you have to do a lot of different things, right? Everything in your CRM. I'm not sure how many of you have done a migration from CRM, and especially customer data, but it is a lot of hassle. I've done it like a few times.
That's awesome, man.
And then I've done it for customers, and it is a big project. And I don't know if you've seen the costing from Fivetran, but it charges a fortune.
Okay. Yeah. Can I just say this? Can we do a separate call on this stuff? Because this is really interesting, and I think we're just glancing on it. But anyway, let's get back to cold email. This is awesome. Thank you, Neelish. I've shared it with my MeasureBit partner, so we're going to look into this.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you need any help with that, I can help you with it too. But hey, we have some comments here. Optics University is free for everyone, by the way. Sajwal, thank you. Sajwal, I mean every optics customer. Okay. Ankit is here. He's saying, looking good, gentlemen. Hey, Sajwal, Ankit, we need to get these folks, Alberto as well, Sam, to get more live streams. One of these days we gotta. I'm not sure what it takes, but we gotta get more people live to talk about, because there is so much valuable knowledge out there with all these folks, right? So
this is amazing. I'm telling you. Okay, cool. All right, okay. Back to it. Okay, so we started talking about, so we're on to point 2 now, which is researching and qualification of the leads. You talked a little bit about doing that in Sales Navigator, but let's talk about that a little bit more and drilling a bit deeper. So one thing is, so let's say we want to get the emails. There's lots of programs out there. If anyone needs recommendations on there, let us know. But one of the big ones that people use is called Apollo, and that's able to extract out, it's able to help you to find. If you gave it a list of URLs, like websites, then this Apollo will give you the if you wanted the founder, the CEO, whichever position, it would give you the email. It would probably give you the phone number, but it'll give you like the pertinent details of that person. So that's one thing. But the second thing we need to do is, once we get a bunch of these emails, is to send them through some kind of email scrubbing program. Once again, lots of those out there. I don't think we need to go into those, do we? So that's a basic cleanup. And then a third thing that you want to do is to then go do some kind of manual qualification. And this is probably the hardest part that I can see, because I've been process mapping the crap out of this over the last 2 or 3 days. But this is the hardest part, the most resource intensive part that I can see, is doing the actual research on their website, their LinkedIn, their Twitter, their podcasts, their YouTube, etc., to figure out what it is that's important to these people, where they've, who they're connected with, what their accomplishments. Right? Do you want to talk about that, Neelish? Is this anything that you would do?
Um, to do some research on the actual person.
Yeah. Did you go to that depth with your research when you're doing building these lead lists?
Yes, I do. Actually, Sancho has a question here. Hockey stack. So
Don't use hockey stack. I'm telling you now.
yeah, so
Don't
hockey
use
stack can be good
Don't use
for certain maybe things. I don't think it is like to the level
That's
of
okay.
segment or anything like that, right?
No, if you're going to use hockey stack, you may as well just use Poic, and Poic's free. So Poic's awesome. Go check out Poic. It's amazing.
Yeah, I haven't used hockey stack, uh, but going back to the topic, I would do some research. Yes, I would do some research around in a lot of different ways. Like I would see if we have any type of common connections, which has become quite common as well now
Right.
because
Right.
it's like third degree of separation, right? Like or whatever you call it.
You want to get a warm intro? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? So you try and get somebody to introduce you? Is that one of the reasons why you would do those connections?
Um, I do not want to be doing a warm intro from ideally. So if a warm intro actually happens from one customer and says, "Hey, I have a friend and we were talking and he asked me who does your work for the contact center, and I gave them your name." So that's a perfect one, right? Like I appreciate that, and that's a much better lead because one customer who's happy about your work is now giving you a lead for another customer who is looking, because typically he's not going to be happy with the work whoever is getting it done from right now. So that's probably a much easier lead, uh, you know. But for most part, going back, I would do a lot of get a lot of research done and put that into HubSpot, right? Hey, likes ice hockey, right? Or takes his kids to ice hockey game on and post regularly, right? Or you want to have something to talk about which is common, of course, in nature. You need to have certain type of
But
common interest.
what
You
about professional? What about from a professional point of view? Would you be talking about accomplishments? Would you be talking about their work, where they went to school, what kind of stuff that they,
Of
would you be
course,
talking about any kind of breakthroughs that they had in press releases and stuff like
yeah,
that?
yeah, of course. All that matters, right? Like so, not just like what are their hobbies or what they do in their pastime or sport, but other than that, of course, professional matters, right? Or what kind of credentials they have, right? And
Yeah.
or what kind of conferences they attended or what kind of certifications. Hey, I see you got this certified information system security professional, and I'm saying that for Alberto if he's watching. I hope Alberto does see SSP one of these days. But anyway, going back to you have to. What I'm saying, the point is, you have to relate to them in some way, and you have to be
Yeah.
able to offer something else to talk about. It's not about the sale, right? Like if you have a product and say, "Hey, I have a contact center," and oh, there he is. Yes, he's there. He's going to do CISP. So for sure, Alberto is my friend. If you talk to have you talked to Alberto much? He's in
No,
the
I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
yeah, yeah. You should
Alberto,
definitely talk to him.
hi Alberto. Sorry if we haven't connected. I'm not sure. If we have, maybe we have. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yes. So there has to be some common ground to connect, right? First of all, nobody is interested in selling, right? Like, I mean, nobody's interested in just a sales call, right? If I go and or send them an email and say, hey, my name is Nilesh Mathure, and I started this freaking amazing thing, and this is what I have to offer. People will be like, hey, you know what? I receive like
All right.
1,000 emails like that all the time.
But surely, okay, devil's advocate here. I'm just asking out loud
Yeah,
here. Um, surely, as part of your research to create these qualified lists of prospects, you're looking for at least some kind of signal that says that they have a pain point that you can match with your solution. Is that not, is that something that you wouldn't try to do? Wouldn't, as part of your persona definition, would you
yeah,
not would you not say, okay, what is obvious? What is obvious about a set of prospects? What data? What kind of signals would I be looking for that could tell me that this cohort, this group of prospects had this particular unmet need, right? And I say unmet because obviously everyone has needs. If you said to me, "Are you interested in getting web design work and web development work?" Yes, but not today. You know what I mean? Like maybe sometime in the next 3 years. Who knows? I mean, I can do web development, but I'd rather get someone else to do it for me.
yeah.
But if you ask me right now, the answer is no. So the question then is not so much about, or not as much about whether or not they could use Cisco, let's say Cisco as an example, Cisco solutions.
Yeah.
It would be what particular Cisco, because Cisco offers probably 100 different solutions.
So
Which one of those?
I would look for applications which have known challenges, right? So
Right.
uh, like I specialized like in UCCX, which is like the contact center express, and the Twilio Flexes of the world, which is like a Twilio contact center and parts of UCCE. And these are the most complex things to implement in the enterprise collaboration world. So you can implement phone systems, you can implement routing, switching. We did like massive data center projects, including designing and implementation for somebody like Ontario Financing Authority, which does like billions of dollars of trade every single day, right? So it's a mission critical type of networks. So yes, so I would look for like particular applications in their portfolio. So typically, if you look for people on LinkedIn, uh, in their bio, they articulate it very clearly what their expertise is. If they are a contact center manager, or if they are an in some level of with customer support or sales or anything, right? Heart of any organization is the contact center, like incoming, outgoing, or outbound, inbound. So I'm looking for particular keywords
Mhm. Yeah.
like UCCX or UCCE, and then go from there. So
Okay.
if they have that particular application, then we would consider ourselves as a subject
Okay.
matter expert because of just the virtue of the fact that we had worked on it for so long. We had,
Right.
like with so many
So
different versions.
I
Yes.
just want everyone to catch what Neelish just said. So Neelish found a particular vein of gold, a little buzzword that he would type into LinkedIn, and that would turn up this cohort of people that he knew with 80% certainty they would have a pain point with implementing it properly or maintaining or whatever. And his team were uniquely capable of meeting those particular problems or satisfying those particular problems. And I think this is so important. If you were to go into what I see a lot of people do is they go, oh, I'm going to scrape every plastic surgeon, you know, thing in Google Maps and use a tool to do that. And there's a lot of probably dozens and dozens of tools that do that now and make up these lead lists and then just blast out thousands of emails, right? That's not
Yeah.
that's not going
Or
to do it. That's
you,
not going to do it.
yeah, or you could also look for who's hiring, right? Like who's hiring for a Cisco collaboration engineer, right? So if you are hiring for somebody in the job section, look at all the companies which are like for me, I can talk about like Cisco Unified Communications Manager, Unified Contact Center Express or Enterprise, or Cisco Unity Connection. These are all the kind of applications which are enterprise level applications, and finding a good resource to manage this for every single company is a major challenge, right? So there are companies always posting jobs, right? So if they are posting a job for a particular technology, that means they have that technology. That means they have the potential to be your future customer.
So you're just getting a question here from Ahmad asking about sales rocks. Interesting,
Yes.
Ahmad. I have been playing around with sales rocks again recently, and I believe it can do some of this. What's interesting is that one of the cohorts that we're going after is people who are using HubSpot, right? For us, the people that use HubSpot is like an immediate, well, not just HubSpot. HubSpot is just one example, but I mean,
Yeah.
instead of HubSpot, you could fill in the blank: Active Campaign, Mailchimp, Get Response. No, but they chose HubSpot, and what does it tell you? Well, it means that they're serious about their marketing, right? And it means that they're serious about getting their marketing right and their
Yes.
marketing automation
Yes.
and their systems that are connected to that marketing. And so therefore, it tells you something about the mindset of the businesses that would use that particular technology. And
That's a
then you
very
would then
good
break,
point. That's a really
right.
good point because that would also tell you if this customer is going to spend or not. I mean, I would not target somebody who's using. I mean, and no offense to anybody, but I would not target anybody who's using an LTD tool for a CRM because you know
No, it's true. It's
you,
true, but not if you're
you
offering your services,
yeah,
right?
they might not actually have the applications I'm working on, right? None of these folks might be using Cisco Unified Communications Manager or UCCX, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. I would not, so it's a waste of, so you want to be careful, but that's a good point. HubSpot, yes, based on what application the company is using, you can tell
Yeah.
their mindset, yes.
So sales
Or
rocks
where
can do
they
some of
are,
that.
right?
You can also filter by position and employee size.
Yes.
I mean, not the size of the employees, but the number, the number of employees. Not whether they wear a medium T-shirt, but um, there's a lot, and I believe they must be blending data with different data sources. So yes, the answer is yes, they can do quite a surprising amount of this. I do believe that they started, but because they started in Europe, that the data sources there in Europe will be a lot richer.
Mhm.
In terms of interests, what you're asking about interest now? Now there are other tools out there, and I'm sounding like an expert. I'm not. So I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's just that
So
I've been.
yeah. So
Uh,
I mean, I don't think sales structure is going to give you any interest. I mean, I haven't looked at it, but I really, really
hold
doubt
on.
it that they would
I'll
be
give you a
so
tool. I'll give you a tool. I'll give you a tool. Um,
interest. But
so Clearbit is another
oh,
tool
clear
that you
bit.
can you
Yes.
can enrich your data with that. So you can take data from sales rocks. You can make up
Hey,
depending on how many
Sales
data,
Rocks is
data.
probably getting data from Clearbit. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so we've got Clearbit. You got there's other tools out there that you can take the incomplete data sets that you've got and you can enrich them. And there's one's called intent-based marketing. Intent-based marketing. So there's tools out there that so there's two or three. Okay, so we've got cold email, and you can scrape those email lists from. Not you won't be able to get the email list out of Sales Navigator. You'll be able to do your basic research there. You'll be able to get your URLs. Then you go into something like Apollo or what's that other tool that we used to use all the time? It was an LTD. You remember the one, Neelish, for getting the emails? think it was like $50, and everyone's been buying and selling it. Anyway, there's lots of these tools. Some of them are free where you can get the emails.
Oh, I lead Delta. Was it lead Delta?
Lead something. Anyway, some of them are better than others, but then you can enrich. You can enrich those data sets by taking them to different places. Clearbit's one of them. SalesRock, like Neelish said, probably borrow some of this data, but there are
not lead
a couple
Delta.
of other tools. There's a couple of other tools out there that do slightly different things. One of these tools, you can put in an IP address and it can return back different information. You can ask it, company, who's the CEO, blah, blah, blah. You can, once again, they're joining data from different sources. Then there's other companies out there that do what's called intent-based targeting. So you can say, okay, find me companies or find me founders of companies or find me HR directors of companies that have hired a sales agent in the last 90 days, as an example. So these companies are out there. I won't give you any names because, like I said, I'm just a newbie at this kind of stuff, but I'm aware of them, right? You can do what you're talking about. You can. Sajwal was saying the data's from Tomba. I don't know what that is. Oh, I've heard that name thrown around. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Okay. So let's. We'll probably keep on coming back to these first 2 points: generating lead lists and researching and qualifying them. I think out of the 80-20, probably it's not even 80-20. It's probably 90-10. It's probably that important that if you don't get that targeting and that persona targeting and the qualification and the research and the cleaning up of that data right, no matter what you do with your messaging, no matter what you do with your email warm-ups, no matter what you do with your automations, nothing is going to work. I think that most of the success that you're going to see is going to be based on that research and the cleaning up and the narrowing of those lists. And you don't have to worry about. Apparently, you don't have to worry about. You want to talk about that, Neelish? I mean, did you contact hundreds of people a week, or how many people a week did your agency contact to make your agency? And it was, in my opinion, it was a successful agency.
Yeah. So we did specifically professional services, right? Professional and managed services around specific applications and infrastructure.
Can I just pause you there?
Yeah.
How many solutions architects were you hiring at one point? I think that would just give people an idea of how much work you guys had on.
Yeah, so pre-COVID, we had a team of about 25 people. We had people in Europe, in here, and then in US. So in Canada, US, and Europe. And we were just specifically seasonal sales guys. So at a time, we would have close to 17 to 18 Cisco engineers who are highly qualified into their, and then we, at a time, I mean, we would do like multiple projects. So this was pre-COVID at a peak time. After COVID, we reduced quite a bit because one of our biggest customers is a luxury hotel chain called Shangri-La, and got really, really affected badly to the extent that they fired like 90% of their staff during COVID, and I still support them, so I'm anticipating it will come back, and then we'll go back to adding more people. But right now we're reduced to like 3 people. And we have some consultants, so I'm not hiring full-time anymore.
Okay. I mean, that's a lot of businesses have been impacted, but I just wanted people to get a sense of where you got your business to doing the things that you're doing, just so that they understand this is not just pie in the sky stuff here. You were doing a practical method that was supporting that level of staffing and needed that level of input. So okay, so saying that, how many people would you reach out to in a typical month?
So we would not do like sales on a regular basis. We would do sales into like cold leads, specifically at specific times when there is a need, right? Because you do one project and you're driving another project with the customer, so you sell into the account which you have, right? But on days when you are doing the leads, every person has to the goal is to target between 60 to 80 customers,
A
and it
day.
never actually happens, because as soon the goal is that it actually never happens. And I'll tell you why. Because once you actually connect with a couple of customers, they'll be like, hey, I'm in a meeting, do you want to call back in like half an hour? So you can talk. So you want to do that, and when that happens, probably you're not going to be able to reach 60 to 80 people. At the max, you're going to reach like 30 people, 40 people, but that's a good thing. And
Hold on. So
that's what we do.
was that per day, or was that per week or per month? Sorry, I missed that. Was that 30 to
Per
40
day,
people per
per
day?
day, but you only do that a couple of days a week, and you don't do that a lot. And then if a customer says, "Hey, okay, I'm busy right now, but you know what? I would love to talk to you. So call me in a week's time." So you say,
Okay,
"Okay,
so
can I send you an email?" You just ask that question, and you get that as a consent over the call, because every call is being recorded, and then you get that as a consent. You ask that question, that can I send you an email? That's a very important question you ask. You get that
uh-huh.
consent in then over the call, it gets recorded, and then you can email them because they've said yes to you.
Okay, let's say 70 people a week. You said 30 to 40, so let's call it 35. That's twice a
Yes.
week, twice a day.
Yeah.
That's 70 a week. And how many months, how many weeks of the year would you do that kind of effort? So 70 a week, for how many weeks of the year would you do that?
Yeah, you do that. So depending on how busy you are, what kind of projects you have in your pipeline,
Yeah.
you do that. You don't want to take up too much work, and this might actually differ from person to person. Not every single thing is applicable here to, or not even anything will be applicable here to your particular scenario.
Right.
And
But what's interesting, hold on, let's talking about numbers. What's interesting is that the guys that I've heard talking authoritatively about building their businesses through cold outreach have all said the same thing: generate targeted, hyper targeted lead lists,
yeah,
research them, qualify them or disqualify them, clean those lists up, research so that you know who you're talking to, and you know their particulars. And we're not talking high volume. We're talking usually about a few dozen contacts a week, a few hundred a month. We're not talking huge numbers. and,
yeah.
and that's enough to propel multiple six figures per month income, right? And
It
this is a
is.
surprising thing about it. So there's all these tools that will generate 10,000s of leads. You got to go warm up an email address. 2 days later, you burnt it out. It's now been blackballed, and now you got to go buy another domain name, start the process off again, and away you go. And so we're not talking about that kind of like spray and pray approach. We're talking about, it's almost the difference between using a shotgun and using a sniper rifle. And it's almost like every person I've spoken to, or not spoken to, listened to, that's good at this stuff is talking about using a sniper approach. Very targeted, more work than probably what lazy people want to do. But at the end of the day, the rewards are there. And one guy I heard talking very, very credibly on this was he said, your target shouldn't be hundreds or even thousands of people per day. It should be, think like this. If you're able to get a 25% response rate, then all you need to do is make 4 contacts a day, research 4 people, targeted people that are demonstrating a visible signal that they need what you got, right? And if you structure your messaging in the right way, and you really do come across personable, authentic, credible, succinct, straightforward, not trying to be a dipstick, you're going to get 1 reply per day, and that's going to be plenty to grow your business. For most people, that's plenty. Like depending on your customer lifetime value per client. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of like interject that in there, Neelish, even though you know more about this than I do.
No,
But
no, no,
carry on.
no. I don't. And it's always a learning process, right? And I want to go back. I want to. We will start doing lead generation again. Just a little bit sidetracked with other projects, uh, but I'll also tell you that you have to, like, in a services business, you have to do this on an ongoing basis, because at some stage the work will dry out, or will not line up. So you want to always keep your resources busy. Uh, but having said that, you also want to be very careful. So, for example, if you call a customer and say, "Hey, I'm really happy right now with my contact center and my services partner, but I appreciate the call." You say, "Okay, well, thank you very much for letting me know. You really should be grateful that that person is not wasting any more of your time, and move on to the next one to actually
Yeah.
where the need is." Right?
So
So,
your goal is rapid disqualification. If you can disqualify them before you even contact them, whether it's by email or by phone or any other method, if you can disqualify them in some way, shape, or form, then that's a good thing, because it means that you're saving time, right?
yeah,
Saving time and resources.
yeah, and that's a big difference between Canadian customers and American customers. Like, Canadian customers, they're too polite, right? They don't want to say no. I mean, I would ideally like them to say no and just move on, right? They don't want to say no, so they'll say, "Okay, can I talk to you next week?" So you say, "Oh, okay," but that's actually a no. Could be a no, but you're not sure.
Most likely as a no.
Yeah,
They are. They're very nice. They're very nice. When I
yeah.
lived in BC, I was
With customers in
staggered by how
US,
nice
it's
everyone.
very straightforward. They're gonna say, "Hey, you know what? I'm really like, thanks for calling me. I really don't have any work for you right now." So you say, "Okay, thank you very much," and then move on, right? But with the Canadian
Mm-hmm.
customer, you call them next week, and then they're very polite, and they'll say, "Hey, I'm really sorry, I have to go to a meeting." They're just avoiding you, right? But they're so
Yeah.
polite to say no, and it can become a waste of time too. So, but yes,
Um,
you disqualify a customer as quickly as possible and move on
quickly
to
as
the next
possible.
one. But also keep in touch. You can say, "Hey, can I just keep in touch?" And
Well,
maybe,
once again, that's if they are somewhat qualified to be kept in touch with, But if you
yeah,
can disqualify them altogether, then that's good too.
yeah,
Okay, so
that's when you put them in automation. "Hey, we talked, and I just wanted to touch base and see how you're doing, and
Mhm.
blah blah blah." That's when you put them in automation, right? But other than that, uh, you wanna be as human as possible. Give it a human, personal touch, and make it very targeted email or a phone call or whatever that is.
Um, so Ahmad's asking about sales rock for B2C. Yeah, no, this kind of sales approach is not for B2C. It's just B2B. Sorry, should have made that clear at the beginning. Business to business.
Yeah,
Um,
hey, Ankit is saying SalesRock's parent company is a research company in Europe, I believe. The research companies always need list to get enough sample size. What is SalesRock's parent company, Ankit? I am not sure. I thought SalesRock's is
It's
run
sorry,
by.
Sales Rock's B2B. It's B2B. So if you're trying to pull up personal
Oh, I know the app.
people,
I know the SalesRock's app. But the founder is in our community, and I thought it was like two or three people, right? But if it's a big company, I don't know that part. Yes.
um, okay, so let's talk about automation. So we've talked about Sales Rocks. I haven't actually tried Sales Rocks for automation. I mean, the two that came up early on AppSumo were Lemlist and Mailshake. I think Mailshake was called something else originally, and then they changed the name to Mailshake. And then Lemlist came along, and that had different bells and whistles, like the image, and you had a whiteboard on it, and you could put their name on it, and they would personalize it to the name of the person, and it would look like handwriting. So they
Yeah.
did a bunch of stuff like that better. But honestly, that stuff is not important. Like if you're going to send an email, okay. So this is where I have had some success. I had success doing B2B sales and getting replies from machine learning and data science academies and schools and that kind of stuff. So let's talk quickly about how to write an email. Can we do that, Neelish? I have had some success here, so I'll talk quickly about that.
Yeah,
Subject
we could do
line,
that.
keep it brief.
We could do that. Ahmed is saying just maintain a database of country-specific code words for no. And that's about right. Yeah. So in Canada, when people say, "Hey, can I call you next? Like, can you call me like next week?" That's a no, right?
That's a no.
So for sure. But yeah.
Oh, maybe later. That's another one. That's a
How's
New
it
Zealand
in
one
New
too.
Zealand? Are people very straightforward, like upfront,
Oh,
or they're very
okay.
polite?
If they're like me, I'm quite blunt, but not everyone is blunt. Most people are quite nice. They're very similar to Canadians in that way. So they'd say, "I'll think about it." So that's the
Yeah.
Kiwi way of saying, "I'm not
Oh
interested."
my God,
I'll think
yes,
about
I will think about it. Or can you reach out to me in 6 months? That's a sure
it.
no. I was like, I would be like,
Okay.
if somebody says that to
So,
me, I'll be like, hey, might as well reach you after 6 years, right?
yeah.
Because what's the difference? You won't remember me.
So here is something that you can say to people like that. There's a book called Spin Selling by a guy called Neil Rackham. Neil Rackham, I think his name is. Spin
Yeah,
Selling. Each SPIN. They all situation, problem, implication, and
yeah,
needs analysis. So that's the
yeah.
book.
I've heard.
Good book.
Yes.
Really, really good.
Yeah,
It's a very good consultative selling book. The gist of it is that if you come across people and you're in a call, um, and they say, "Oh, I'll have a think about it. Can you call me back and whatever?" What you say to them is, "Hey, look, it's okay to say no. In fact, if you're not interested, I'd rather you tell me now because A, it just stops me from annoying you, and B, for me, it just saves my time. So I'd just rather, if you're not interested, just to say no. You're not going to insult me. I'll give you, permission to do that." Second thing you do is they say, and then they say to you, "Okay, no, I really mean it. Call me in 3 months," and then you say to them, "Well, tell me what it is that's likely to change in 3 months that gives me the reason to call you up," right? So
yeah,
that puts it back on them.
yeah,
It makes it their responsibility, and they'll say, "Oh, because we have a contract that's ending. We're in the middle of a contract, and at the end of 2 months, it's ending, and then it'll be another month, and they'll be ready to start." If they say something like that, now they're qualified to be called again. Now, if they give you another smokescreen answer, then you can just disqualify them because they're not being straight with you. And this is not about being aggressive. This is just about being, "Hey, we're all busy people. You don't, and as much as you're trying to be polite to me, I'd rather a no so that we don't waste each other's time." So that's one thing I got really helpful tip I got off Neil Rackham, because he talks about the difference between just calling for calling's sake or calling for a continuation. And a continuation is, if you're thinking about the customer journey, thinking going back to normal sales funnel on a website. They come to your page, they see something they like, they opt in on the email, they haven't purchased, but then later on they may purchase, and then later on after that they may buy the upsell, and then later on after that they may start advocating for you and telling your friends about you. These are all different stages in the customer journey and different levels, and this is what's called a continuation. And so what you want to do is, between one sales call and the next, you always want to be going up that next step in the sales journey. You don't want to just be calling up and wasting each other's time and having a half an hour conversation about basically nothing. I don't want to be talking about ice hockey every time I call you up. I
yeah.
want to build my business and get paid.
Yes.
So, okay, cool. Are
So
we ready to switch to no, Karen, you say something. Yeah.
no. Go ahead.
Can we talk quickly about how to write an email that gets a response? This is something I've had good experience with.
Sure. Um,
Okay.
I would say, uh, you know, be as concise as possible because this is your first email, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in on every single day, anticipate that your outreach email is going to be one among hundreds of emails which they are going to receive, right? A well researched outreach email will, I mean, of course, you have to do some groundwork and you have to warm up your mailbox and make sure you use the right keywords and how you, we will get into all of that. And, maybe this that deserves a separate live stream. But I would say keep it concise, keep it to the point, and keep it like uh, don't go on Babel and write like 15 paragraphs about you and your company and what you have to offer. I mean, I get that kind of emails as well. And where are they ending up? They are ending up in spam. I don't have to do anything for it. Google is just sending them to spam, right? Because that's not a well researched email. And if it's not a well researched outreach email, there is a difference, right? Like it ends up in spam. So you want to keep it concise. You want to keep it to the point.
So I heard some research recently, and
Yeah.
whatever you write, so the first thing that people see when they get your email is a subject line, and on today's email clients, you normally can see the subject line and then the first kind of like 10 words that go after the subject line. So you got the person's name, then you got the intro, and then on Gmail you can see, on the Gmail client you can see like 10 words after it. So that's really kind of like your teaser for opening up something. There's two things you want to kind of do. So the subject line should never ever be misleading. It should always be short, right? Always short. It's, so my subject line is normally, if I'm writing for MeasureBit, which is our data analytics company, it's like MeasureBit / and let's say that the company I was contacting was XYZ company. So it'd be MeasureBit / XYZ company. That's it. That's my intro, right?
Yes.
If I'm going to write anything more, it'll be like maybe 2 words or 3 words at the very most.
Yes.
And it would link directly to what's being said in the email. It's never misleading. It's never spammy. It's never hypey. It's never anything like that. It's always like from one. If I'm contacting another founder or CEO or director or something like that, it's from one equal to another. I'm on your level. I've got just as much status as you. I'm not going to be hypey. I'm not going to try and, explain the world to you. I've got something valuable, and that's why I don't have to write a lot. And if you take that kind of mindset, people will, read your email. That's the most important thing first. You got to get people to open it before they can read it. Once they read it, then your next goal is to get them to reply to you. And right, you're not trying to get them to buy anything. You ideally aren't trying to get them to schedule a call on your Calendly. All you're really trying to do is to get a general signal that they're going to be available to have a short chit chat, or that they want something more from you. That's all, right? That's a yes or no answer. That's all you need to get out of that engagement. And I have had some success doing this. So first of all, really short subject line, typically 2 words, maybe 3 at the most. Then an intro, and this intro is probably the longest part of the email, where you are making a connection between you and them. You're trying to connect you to them somehow, and this is where the research comes in, right? And so you research their website, the LinkedIn, the Twitter, whatever, wherever you can go and find out information about them. You are putting that in their intro, right? You're setting a bit of a context. Now, if you know somebody they know, you want to kind of put it there, right? If you
I'm also a big believer in, research comes in, you personalize the email, and do not send mass emails, because if you send, depending on the product you're selling, of course,
no, you can automate it, but they can't be mass emails. They have to be well researched. And so with these tools like Updix and SalesRocks, you can dynamically insert that well researched and personalized data that you've come up with. You can slot it in there. And like you say, Neelish, it's not just a general catch-all email that you send everybody. You'll get zero response. It
doesn't work. And if something is not working, you gotta adopt and change it, right? If you send same email every single time expecting that there will be a different results, It's not. It's ending up in spam, right? So you
Right.
want to be you're wasting your leads too, right? Like, so you just want
Mm-hmm.
to be careful.
Burning up your leads, and you're burning up your sender reputation.
Yes.
Because by two things will happen when you do that. If somebody doesn't open your email, if they do open your email and they don't like it and they hit spam, or if they do open your email, if they don't, or they do open your email and they fail to reply to you, these are all signals that the machine learning of Google, Hotmail, Outlook, Yahoo, AOL, all of these email providers, they use machine learning and they all share their databases with each other of these signals. And what they do is then they are giving you a sender reputation score. So if you're not managing that, and what I say by not managing it, if you're not getting responses back, if your emails aren't getting opened, and if they are getting opened, they're not getting replied to, then there's a problem. That's counting as a black smudge against your sender reputation. And what's happening is that your email deliverability goes down, 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 down until almost none of your emails get through to the inbox of your target audience. So this is having a feedback loop effect. Whatever you're doing, if you're doing it good, it gets better and better. If you're doing it bad, it gets better and better. So it's so important that you write your emails in such a way that A, they get open, and B, they get a response. Even if that word is just like a one word yes or no thanks, that is perfect. All those responses are really, really powerful for upping your reputation and for improving your deliverability. So okay, so we got the intro. The intro has some kind of connection with a compliment, with some kind of relevance, with some kind of connection, hopefully between you and them. Typically between 2 and 3 sentences long. It's one paragraph. Then the next paragraph is what you have that's obvious value. And obvious value, once again,
100%.
comes from your research. What signal did you find in your research that made them part of your targeted lead list? And you speak to that problem in this second paragraph of the email where you say, hey, blah, 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 uh, this pain point. We have this unique solution that helped companies like yours. Okay, then the last paragraph of the email, these are very short emails. Your target for this email should be total 60 words. 60 words should be total. I shit you not. They should be short and succinct. That last part is just basically, I
Also,
got
don't
this
use
thing.
templates. Don't use templates, because if you use a template and if the user has actually seen some of that same email come through, it will leave a
Just write
bad
it in your
taste.
own words. Be
It will
authentic.
not work, right? And all these guys, I mean, from Lemless to, like, yeah, there are, like, maybe they offer templates, but don't use them, because they already sent out that template to every single person. And now, if they receive similar emails from 5 different people, guess what?
Spam.
It's spam. Yeah.
Machine learning picks it up and it's in spam. Um, okay, no, you haven't, Ahmad, you haven't wasted your money there. What you can do is use Email Writer to come up with different variations. Then what you can do is then cherry pick and go, okay, I'm going to use these bits and I'm going to use that, but don't worry. These tools are still useful. But what we're saying is you go through and you edit it in your own voice. This is about authenticity. That energy comes through in the email. Be direct, be succinct, be equal. The other thing is like communicate equalness. You're not a servant, right? You are equal. You're on the same level, and you have something of value. Why do you know that? Because remember, you're researching that obvious visible signal, and this is why these people are in your cohort, and so you already know this data about them. Okay, the last part of a three-part structure of an email. So you got the intro, you got the obvious value, and then you got the last part, the call to action. What is that
Yeah.
call to action? It should literally, typically what I was doing when I was doing the machine learning lead gen outreach was, um, you got 5 minutes on your calendar to have a brief chat, see if this is see if this is going to work for you. Simple as that. That's it. Let me know Thursday 4 p.m. or Tuesday 10 a.m. next week. Or you could say something like, I got this thing that tells you if you got a problem. I can send it through. You just reply back yes if you want me to do that. That's the call to action right there. There's the conversation starter. That's all it is. It's just a reply. Bam. Then if they do say yes, then you send them that thing through, and now that kind of creates that little crack in the door. You jam your toe in there, and then away you go. You're having a conversation, jamming your toe in the.
We did that. We did exactly that. I mean, we booked because we were Cisco. We still are a Cisco partner. We are stuck with working with WebEx. We cannot use Zoom. But yeah, you book a WebEx meeting, right? Like you book a WebEx meeting, and if the person shows up to that WebEx meeting, that's it. I mean, if they can give that time to you, they're very likely to do business with you at some stage, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You want that commitment from that particular customer, right? And we can talk.
So that's the only part I could speak to about authoritatively was the email part. But anyway, you want to talk about the automation? Have you had any luck with automation at all? I mean, you had the optics guy on here. I have yet to use it. I used Mailshake. Mailshake was quite useful. I sold that one on this group.
Have you heard of this tool called Woodpecker? Have you heard of Woodpecker?
Yeah, I have heard of it. I've never used it.
It's a pretty good tool. I think they're one of the leaders.
What's it like compared to Optics? Looks really slick, man. It's
Optics is slick. Optics is sleek. Optics, they've done a great job. I haven't used Optics I just tested it and stuff. I haven't really used Optics for the fact that my data is somewhere else, but I should start using Optics at some stage, especially for my proposal software project, which I'm working
on. How's it going? Are you progressing that at the moment?
It's progressing, yeah. So, I worked with a couple of pretty big companies when I was building their Cisco practice in Canada. So, my first goal is to work with a couple of channel partners in the resellers, right? Large resellers, right? So, if we are successful there, then we have a monthly revenue, and then we can go back into the whole end user market, like consultants, freelancers. But in case you guys don't know, we're building a proposal software. There's nothing there on the site, but we have booked a domain. So I don't know if you know, but yeah, air proposals. That's what we're calling it as of now.
Yeah. I got one of those better proposals. I think. Oh, you've called yours air proposals. That's a brilliant name. I love it. I think it's a great name.
Yeah,
I love it. That's really really nice.
Yeah. So thank you. We're gonna get to so first our goal is to work on business proposals for between B2B kind of market. So from resellers to other businesses, but we are at some stage going to look into freelancers, consultants, agencies, small business, where you can send business proposals or even just build the goal is to build ones and use that asset as a business proposal or as a landing page. So whatever.
What might be an idea is if you're able to somehow tie it in with some of the software that's out there, so you could get your proposal tool and that works in with something else, that a lot of people are using. But I was just thinking about
Notion, Airtable, Coda. We're thinking about it. So, but that's not the next stage. What right now our whole goal is to work with Cisco APIs, work with the process in a consulting process. What exactly happens, right? How the discovery is made, how the information is exchanged, and then how you, based on that, how you actually propose a project. What are some of the documents which go into that project? So it caters to a different kind of market right now. But if we will have a recurring revenue, which will allow us to build more for end user market, right? The goal is not to offer a lifetime deal or anything like that. It's purely going to be like a subscription based. Yeah.
So Ahmad's asking about in the cold email space, what are some good tools for getting email list for B2C? Okay, so one of the problems you're going to have there, a lot of these tools that are, like Clearbit and these other tools that scrape data and blend it together and enrich and stuff, a lot of them are based on the fact that people work at companies and then they buy that data and they exchange it with each other and they join it together. There are different businesses that you can give you this data. One of them is Axiom. There's a few of them out there. You can Leadberry is another one, so you can do that by IP address. So if you can get somebody to visit a particular page and you can pick up on their IP address, you can figure out who they are. But there's other ones. Leadberries. You just go do a Google search, man. There's plenty of them out there. And then your next job is just to have a play with them and figure out if they're giving you decent data that you can use.
Yeah, and it would be interesting, So, what kind of businesses are you targeting, Ahmed? Right? Like, what geography you're targeting? What kind of business are you targeting? Right? So,
Yeah.
if you discuss a particular, if you give a little bit more elaborate use case, then maybe we
Yeah.
can help
And
you in a better.
and the next question you got to ask is if these are the people that you're after, then what kind of signal are they putting out, and how would you know that you are seeing it? What format? Where would it be? Are you seeing it? Are you hearing it? Is it? Where would you see these signals somehow that these people need this particular thing you have? So you got mindset coaching for professional women. Okay, cool. So the first thing you'd do, I guess, would be, I'm just like spitballing here. You would have to find places where those women mindset coaching. You'd have to find where those kind of women hung out. You would have to have historical data to know what kind of early warning signals you would need to pick up on that would be able to predict whether or not they were going to buy mindset coaching, and therefore where would that be
Attend
found?
conferences, right? Like women in IT, women in tech. There must be so many different conferences focused on professional women. You probably want to be there, right? Like you want to.
Where professional women hang out too. They hang out at those places where professional women go to conferences on, dating powerful men and stuff like that. I know this sounds funny, but there'll
Yeah,
be these kind of weird kind of correlations uh, between those women
yeah.
and sort of like events that they're going through in their life. So if they're busy professional women, typically they're not going to have the usual amount of time that young teenage women do that go out and drink all the time. They're probably more busy and therefore they're
Or
probably
they could be
lacking the
just be on
the
LinkedIn,
social opportunities.
or they
So they're
are
probably
on
on
LinkedIn,
dating sites
or they are on LinkedIn, right? I mean,
or
those,
LinkedIn. But you want to kind of like be more creative like that, and then think, okay, if that were the case, then how could I then cross pollinate those ideas and then come up with a cohort? Anyway, I don't know is the answer.
so yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
let's talk about.
I'm just saying, been targeting executives in sales rocks, but no traction. Fair enough. Don't give up, right? But you want
Don't
to
use
probably
Sales Rocks. Don't use Sales Rocks. It's not the right tool for that cohort. Unless you're talking about CEOs who are professional women who may need mindset coaching, or executives. I mean, how you got to be able to cross that data with something else to figure that out. So you may figure out that a lot of these women are HR managers or marketing managers. I know a lot of women who are marketing managers, marketing directors, and VPs of marketing and stuff. So you might want to do that kind of thing and then go, okay, what typically are their ages? But then now you've got to take that data and somehow blend it with another data source to be able to give you that signal of whether or not they're kind of in that part of their life where they need mindset coaching. I don't know. Sorry.
no. Yeah, and so depends, right? Like how are you targeting them? Like, are you not getting any response? Like, I don't use sales rocks, but is it like like, so you are you emailing them, or is this a message on LinkedIn which you're sending, or how is it exactly working? I mean, how are you targeting them, right? So that's first thing you want to know. And then what message are you sending? Like, are you sending them a link to visit? Are you tracking them in some way? Uh, are they not taking any action? Like, I want to understand a little bit, right? So, but if you're not getting any traction, obviously, there are certain things required where you can change the approach maybe, and see what works. You have to always tweak the approach, right? Like, we didn't get it right the first time. In fact, when I quit and started my own, I initially had and like, of course, I had certain buffer to work with, like, so I wasn't expecting that I would call the first customer and they're going to start giving me business. It wasn't going to happen. So it takes some
Okay.
time. It takes some tweaking, and but it will eventually work. But you just need to do the research. You need to see what works, and if you're sending them to your website or something, do the obvious thing, right? Like, make sure that it's all the
Okay.
relevant
I'm
thing
gonna
is there. You make a good first
I'm gonna
impression
jump in
is what
there
I'm
again.
saying. Yeah.
So here's something Ahmad's saying. He's emailing via sales rocks. The only clear signal is when they say not interested. I try to get them onto a landing page with a booking calendar. Okay, so I think there's a couple of issues that you're having there. The first one is, what signal, besides the fact that they're females and they're executives, are you picking up on? A visible signal that they have some kind of unmet need and the timing is right for them to say yes. Now, remember this, that, and this comes from Chet Holmes. He wrote a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine or something like that. The Ultimate Sales Machine. It's like a ready orange book with a gear wheel on the front. Read that book. It's like one of the best books you'll ever read on sales and marketing. And he says that if you were to take 1,000 people of your ideal prospects, right, and you were to put them in a stadium, right, and
Yeah.
you were to ask them if they wanted your thing, which these guys are ideal prospects for, then on any given day, they're only 3%, 1 to 3% are going to say yes. 1 to 3%, right? 1 to 3% are going to say yes. So there's two things to take out of that. Number one, um, not only do you have to know that they're your target audience, but they're a target audience with some kind of signal that tells you that they need your thing now or
Hey,
about to.
when sorry to interrupt, Sajwal is asking the name of the book.
Uh, Chet Holmes is his name. Chet Holmes. You know that my official name in this group, Sajwal, is the librarian. Ultimate Sales Machine. That's what it's called. The Ultimate Sales Machine. That's a red book with a gear wheel on the front, and it's called The Ultimate Sales Machine. And the author is Chet Holmes. He's dead now. Rest in peace, Chet. So yeah, so 3%, 1 to 3% of those people are going to say yes on any given day. So we've got two problems. One is timing. Two is, if they're not ready today, then how can we create some kind of connection with them that's such that that over time, as they're gonna come into need, we're able to be there and they're going to think of us. So there's two things to be thinking about then. Um, the other problem that you got, I say signal. So where, besides just going executive woman, if that's your targeting, then dude, I'm telling you, you're going to have to contact 20,000 people to get one booking. That's just how it is. You're going to burn out that email list. You're going to get a poor sender reputation, and you're just going to have to keep on burning through emails and warming them up. So you've got to really think long and hard about how you're targeting these things and how to come up with these cohorts. We talked about some of these tools today. One of them is, so for instance, in Sales Navigator, you can do a search like, you could do a business. You can say, find me a sales executive or find me a company that's hired somebody in the last 90 days who's in sales and marketing, and that person who they hired came from the UK, as an example. Now, I don't know what you're going to do with that data, but I'm just giving you an example. You're figuring out things by timing as well as by targeting. And you're using this kind of thinking to narrow down that audience into something that's going to give you some kind of detectable signal that tells you whether that person is likely to be ready for something that you're doing. That's going to take some kind of creative effort. That's not just a tool, that's figuring out how to use the tool or how to employ the tool in order to be able to enable you to target the cohort that you're after. This is why we said at the beginning, like 90% of the success in this that we think is in being able to generate a hyper-targeted list that's ready for what you are offering. This is like the 90%. This is not even 80-20. This is like the 90% rule. You could get them into a query survey or a leads hook survey or typeform survey. I still think you're going to fail. And the reason is because you need to come up with that hyper-targeted list before you pop any call to action. And your call to action shouldn't be taking them to a website. Your call to action should literally be yes or no. I got something for you. I want to send it. Is this helpful? Let me know. Just reply back yes. That's your call to action. If you're asking for any more than that, then man, your thing must be awesome, right? To ask for that level of commitment, right? So if you're asking somebody to jump on your Calendly and make a booking, dude, you failed. It's not going to work for you. Your call to action must be just reply back yes, and I'll send you more info. That's your permission for taking the conversation further. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And there are two ways, right? Like, so you generate. We are talking about, of course, cold emails and outreach and outbound reach, right? What you need, once you do that, right? Once you reach that cold stage, once you reach out to somebody, expect them to do some research on you, right? Like, expect them to go back. So I expect people to go and check my LinkedIn profile, right? So if it adds up, then they will contact me, and more likely than not, whenever I have spoken to a customer, the first thing they're going to do, and I'm not sure, again, it depends on B2C, B2B, but the first thing they are very likely to do is go and check my LinkedIn profile,
Yeah.
look at all my recommendations, and they are like, hey, you worked with University Health Network, and you have so yeah, I worked with those kind of projects before, in when I was in working in for another company. Now I've started my own company, so they are not my customer yet, but I'm hoping. And so at least gives you a talking point, but they are going to do some sort of a validation on you. So do you have that,
Absolutely.
right? Do you have that? Do you have a professional presence? So if you are looking at coaching professional women, mindset coaching, right? Do you have a site? Do you have a profile where they can go and check? I'm assuming yes. Obvious question, but you know.
And I think cold outreach is the right approach for some cohorts, some markets, some audiences, and for others, it's not. If you're doing B2C, is it possible that a marketing approach might be better using Facebook ads? I know that, as an example, filling up webinars and seminars. I mean, I have friends that just specialized in doing just that, driving Facebook ads to webinars and seminars for mindset coaching. It was a very big thing. I haven't kept in contact with them recently, but I know that was a big part of their business. So, perhaps that cold outreach may not necessarily be the right approach. I'm almost certain of it. Cold outreach is definitely not the right approach for a lot of businesses. But a lot of businesses can't be helped with the marketing, with the digital advertising approach. So you get a business like ours, like MeasureBit. Haven't
How is
tried digital
measurement
ads.
going? How is measured it?
I'm not rich, if that's what you're asking. But yeah, no, we've got some good clients come on board, and we're growing, moderately steadily. And now, what we're starting to look at now that we've figured out what our competencies are, and we've really, really proven ourselves in different areas, and um, now we're starting with the cold outreach. We're starting to really build that out, and so we're actually starting to get some help in this area, even though we're marketing experts ourselves. My partner, he's got his own AdWords agency, which is successful. Um, we're we're getting other consultants to help us to grow this part of our business. I know it's ironic, but it's like even if you're an MMA fighter, what do? You go get a coach. Why? Not because you want to know how to fight, but you need ongoing guidance because you're in the business and you're doing the doing, and we're starting to put some real asset on this part of our business now. So hence why today's call talking about cold outreach, because cold outreach for us is going to be a significant part of what we're doing, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good way. I mean, maybe I'm for Ahmed as well. Maybe collaborate with somebody who's like-minded in your industry. Maybe somebody who's really busy. They can
Yeah.
give some business your way, and you give them like a referral fee. I'm just running some ideas.
Ahmad, I'll tell you this, Ahmad. One thing that you got to think more generally about is about connections. So you're thinking about how do you reach these women, as an example, right? Well, maybe one of the questions that you should ask yourself is how can you build out your network of people that can bring in natural referrals for your business, and that may be another helpful way of doing it. So instead of using sales rocks for connecting with professional women, as an example, maybe you should be using sales rocks to connect with organizations that share the same target ideal customer as you, and building relationships with them, and thinking about the way that you can benefit them, and they, as well as, because not only do you need to be able to connect with them, but you got to think about why it is that they want to connect with you and why they would want to help you. We're humans. The way we work by mutual benefit. The reason why we work together is because why I give you some bread is because eventually you're going to give me some fish, and you give me some fish because I'm going to eventually give some pigs to the guy down the road. And that's kind of how that interdependency works. Now, if you can figure out those kind of relationships, those kind of networking relationships, where you're building each other's businesses, and by you working together, you're having more. This is why countries trade with each other, right? So this is why China makes goods, and they get iron from New Zealand, and then they make goods and they export it to the United States, who then create something else and exports it to Japan, and then they do the same thing and that goes back to China. It's this interdependency that creates more wealth for everybody involved. So you've got to think about what that ecosystem looks like, and who are the potential um, organizations that you can now leverage, because I think that you're going to probably grow a lot quicker by taking that approach rather than trying to use sales rocks or any other lead gen system to connect directly with these professional women.
Yeah, and that's why I said, like, I work in the channel, and a lot of times the lead comes from the account manager at Cisco, and I have to refuse sometimes as well. And I have to say, if it's not in my competency area, I have to say that, hey, I'm not really into this kind of thing, because Cisco offers like a million different things. So not everything that we do. So we say no as well. But whenever we can do something which does fall under our expertise, it's really easy, because the reference has come from somebody who the customer sees as an authority, because they work for Cisco, so they can extend all types of discounts and all those things as the manufacturer, and we are doing the services. So we get the sale, we get the revenue, we get the profit, but we also make money on our own product by selling our services. So uh, it's a channel model, but of course there are people who are willing to help you, because you are helping them in a way to drive business, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe you
Yeah.
want to look for like the word would be like more symbiotic kind of relationship, right? Like where
And I'd also be trying to model if you're struggling in this area, because the mindset space is massive. I mean, it's got to be $1 billion plus industry easily. Um, dude, we were in this space.
Yeah,
Our Facebook apps business was in this space, funnily enough.
yeah.
Um, and all I can say is that networking is a massive part of it. Networking is a massive part of it, and working with um, networkers who bring big audiences with them, and they get paid significantly for doing this. To fill those rooms and make they made massive amounts of money too, massive money. Um, all
Hey,
right, sorry, can we talk real quick about automate? I mean, Sajwal wants to talk about GPT writing tools.
yeah, yeah. He's
Honestly,
saying, hey, you guys gotta see these new GPT-3 email writing tools for cold emails.
yeah, sure,
Never.
whatever. Use them, but I mean, they're not that important. Just use your brain, man. Like just write a sentence. Here's my advice. Remember, I told you about the structure of three. At the beginning, it's some kind of connection and complement. Section two is what's obvious value. Section three is obvious call to action. Short, succinct, boom, off the cuff like that. You don't need a GPT-3 tool for this. Honestly, you just write it, just straight out, just straightforward. You know, write it as if you don't care. Too obviously, you get your grammar but the grammar's not even in that important. You want to shave off words here and there as if you wrote it on your phone. I kid you not, that's actually more useful doing it that way than having it written perfectly in long form verbose, and it just looks like a wall of text. Oh my god, I tell you, like most people read their things on their phones, so it should look like it was written on a phone, and it should be like really short. Somebody sees like a multi-page email sent to them, it's like spam. Seriously, that's how it works. Okay,
Yes.
can we talk about automation? That's the last thing I got on my little list of things to talk about. And I don't have a lot of experience with this, but I think we may as well just mention the tools that have come through. We've
Yes.
already talked about.
Last couple of comments. I'm saying natural referrals are happening, but slow and hard. Just looking for a faster pace in the digital space. And Ankit is saying it's all top of mind awareness. Without awareness, nothing is flowing down the funnel. Yeah.
Really, it's very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart comment there. I don't know how to use it, but it is true. That's good marketing wisdom there. It's Eugene Schwartz actually was the first one that came up with that kind of concept. But yeah. Okay, so marketing automation tools. We got Lemlist and probably Mailshake is the easiest one for people to use, right? It's the
Yeah.
oldie. It's the old one.
Yeah. Certainly. I mean, you could use Mailshake for anything really, right? Like, I mean, you could use it for any type of outreach automation. Um, I, I mean, for like,
Well,
I
why
don't
is Mailshake
send that many automated emails. I don't send that many automated emails.
yeah?
Just for the fact that I don't need to, right? Like, I like to personalize every single thing in hyper personalize in
Yes,
actually.
hyper personalization is important.
So I don't use that many tools. I would like to keep things really simple and send my emails, right? But yes, you could use Woodpecker for that as well. Um, and I
I'll,
don't
t-
even know if
I'll
Woodpecker
tell
was.
you why you'd want to use something like that, right? So if your goal is to send out like, let's say that you start scaling your operation, right? Again, not because I've had heaps of experience with this. I have used Mailshake. I had it for a number of years. I found that there were, in my opinion, I felt there were better tools coming out. Then there was Lemlist that got better, and you got Snovio, and now you got Uptix. Uptix is really slick, man. Um, Key thing is, I think, a couple of things. Number one thing that makes Mailshake really good is because it integrates with Gmail. So if you've got a Google Apps or a Gmail account, you won't get a higher delivery rate than what you can with the Gmail or a Google Apps account, because it's coming through Google's own email servers. Second reason why you'd want to use something like Mailshake or Uptix or even SalesRox is because you can split test the emails, right? And one of the big things that with any marketing, whether it's outreach or inbound, is that you want to split test your messaging, and you should be aiming for 60% plus on your open rates. You should be aiming for 20% plus on your reply rates. Anything above 20% on replies is good. If you get above 40%, you are a guru, man. You've hit it. You really hit it. What you want to do is you want to test, just like any kind of cascading marketing funnel, where you start with the email, you start with the ad, then once you've optimized that, you start with the landing page, and then once you optimize that, then you start with the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, right? Same thing it's the same approach here. You want to start with that first email, and you want to be getting at least 20% reply rate. Okay, if you're not hitting a 20% reply rate, something is wrong. It's either something in your targeting of your lead list, or something is wrong with your message, or both. It might be a combination of both. So that's why you want to use a tool like one of these, is because they can give you historical data, and this is actual data that tells you what's working, right? And so your initial, the initial cohorts that you send out, you'll be sending out emails in packets of 50 probably, and you'll be paying attention to the results you're getting back over the next few days. And then that tells you, if your open rate's good, but then your reply rate's not good, then you got to work on your reply rate, right? So you work on your open rate, then you work on your reply rate, right? And then you work on the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and then what you're doing is you'll over a sequence of, say, 4 emails, you'll find that the bulk of your replies will come in the subsequent contacts, whether it's email 2, 3, or 4. I typically send out probably 3 emails, maybe 4, but 4 is about the maximum I'd send out. And I find that I'll usually get like more than half of the replies back after that first email. So if your overall reply rate over that whole lead list is not above 20%, then you got a real problem. So you got to work on that first. Then you got to work on, okay, how do you get from a reply to actually getting a booking, right? And then how do you get from a booking to getting people to show up? So these are all different cascading parts of your sales funnel.
Yes. And I do encourage you to check Woodpecker. It's pretty good. And it has 3 different aspects. Of course, there is like the cold email, cold outreach. Then you have your sales automation as well. So you have to pay for separate plans. But you don't. And of course, LTD tools are always better, especially because we are an LTD community. You use it, but there are limitations as well. So if you use these tools in the right way, you can generate revenue, and then you can put that money towards building other things.
So
right?
even though you're using automation, you're not mass spamming. Sorry, what's these last 2 comments? Who's that from? I can't see it on my screen.
It's from Ankit, actually. It's from Ankit.
Oh, yeah. Ankit was good.
Yeah. He's saying, at one point I owned both Lemlist and Mailshake, and Mailshake was a bit. Oh, you're saying, Lemlist was easier to upload newer contacts into existing campaigns. Mailshake was a bit more difficult. Also, Lemlist allowed A/B testing earlier. Lemlist took over the market when they came out because of the innovative Lemwarm email warming functionality. Mailshake did not have it originally. Both Lemlist and Mailshake have native direct integration with Gmail G Suite. That's correct, yes. Just rocks, it's not native integration. You have to set up IMAP. That's true. And then when is correct, cold outreach is not about mass email. It's more about doing proper prospecting, meaning you absolutely know your customer and what they want, then reaching out to their exact pain points, else it's spamming and shooting in the dark. 100%. So, Ankit, we definitely, are of the same opinion. And we see a lot of mass emails going and people trying to send emails and fighting for all these limits. And it was like, hey, where are you using those limits? Like with optics as well. Like, what are you going to do with those crazy amount of limits, right? Like, you don't want to. A lot of people made a big fuss about upticks, but I'm not sure they actually fully understand the business part of it, right? Like there is one thing to actually understand the business, and there's another thing to just write some review. You need a business experience is a different thing, right? I mean, nobody with the realistically would use those limits for cold emails without getting any results. And if you are getting results, why do you care about some pennies? It should be a
Yeah, I
fraction.
mean, like if you're selling something that has multi tens of thousands of dollars of customer value, why would you be penny pinching? It makes no sense, and this comes down to having a broader perspective on building your business. If you can make $1 million and spend 100,000, then why do you care?
Yeah.
Just spend $100,000 and then spend another 100,000 and another, just become a millionaire. Yeah. so,
Yeah.
so just do that. But I mean, it's a silliness, right? And you're right with the whole you're like, if you take this approach, and once again, I'm learning, right? I'm not an expert in this field, but I feel as though this is like a discussion that we're all having. There's some parts of this I am actually good at, like I was telling you about the structure of the email and getting responses from that. But
Yes.
the other part I'm learning more about, with the hyper personalization and the lead
So
generating lists and all that kind of stuff. But Sajwa was saying that we got it wrong. It's about seeing those numbers in the shelf. Okay, not sure what that means. Maybe you want to explain that a little bit more, Sajwa. I'm willing to be educated here too. Um, but you know, if you're doing it like Ankit is saying and like Neelish is saying, then I don't actually think you need email warming. I've actually never warmed an email in my life. And I've sent out hundreds of emails, from my Gmail accounts and GApps accounts, and never got an email account blacklisted or spammed or anything like that. It's pretty good, really. I mean, that might be a bit of luck, but I'm getting kind of a bit more knowledgeable about the stuff over the years too.
I have never warmed up an email as well until this last week. I actually had to warm up an email for a club I'm helping out. It's like a beach tennis club, and so some of their emails are landing in. So it belongs to one of my friend, and so other before that, I've never warmed up an email. Like my emails always would reach to the destination mailbox, not in spam or anything like that.
Mm.
Um, but again, it depends. Depends what you send. Is saying, Sajwal is saying, shell as in you don't use the LTD and are just happy seeing the limit numbers. If that's true, yeah.
I'll tell you.
I mean, we're always fighting for all these like really high limits, and
I don't
that,
actually
that
care about the
is so
limits
who
as much as
uses them, right?
I care about the quality of the tool. Like obviously I'm into getting a good deal. I was really over the moon that I got some good tools like Mailshake and other LTDs. But these days I got the whatever XYZ LTD on project management, and none of those tools work for me. I mean, they were all good. Don't get me wrong, well programmed. Really smart people who put those tools together. In the end, we're using ClickUp, right? And then once again, it took me about 6 months to learn how to use ClickUp, because any of those truly enterprise tools like ClickUp and Notion, and man, they are mind blowing at how deep and wide those tools are and what you can do with them. But
Yeah.
it's taken me literally 6 months to learn how to use ClickUp, but that's the only tool we use for project management now. Because why? Because it does what we need. Happy to pay the whatever dollars a month for what it does, because we're building a real business.
I use Teamwork.
So teamwork, yeah, teamwork's pretty good,
Yeah,
pretty slow.
I want to look into ClickUp actually, but I use Teamwork right now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, teamwork's awesome. Yeah, yeah, but no, ClickUp is, in my opinion, it's the best of all of those Asanas and all of that.
I was having that same discussion actually the other day in one of the group chats we are in. And project management is a little bit like you got to do a proper project management, and you need to have a PM for that, right? Like you need to have a PM for that. You need to have a project plan, and there are tools which will specifically work with for that kind of thing, right? If you're just talking about Kanban style, or if you're talking of like just a to-do list, anything will work, right?
Anything, anything.
but but if you are
In
truly
fact,
looking
I'm saying
for,
that. Sorry, hold on. Can I just pause you there?
yeah,
In saying that, if you're going to use anything, you may as well just use a piece of paper with a little template printed on it, because that's
yeah,
probably going to be more useful for you. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah. If you're
You know?
looking for a to-do list or get things done, I mean, there's so many different things. Notebook and paper will
Ah,
work just fine. But if you're going to do if you're looking for a proper project management tool where you have like a project plan, which
yep.
multiple parties, and you want to execute that project plan properly in a tool, there are only certain tools which will work, right? So
And do it properly. Do it properly.
do it properly. Yes. Yes.
There's like probably about 3 or 4 max out of all of the dozens and dozens and dozens of them out there. You know, you've got ClickUp, Asana, probably Teamwork, and maybe that's it. And I know you got Monday.com and all of that, but that's it. That's kind of it. And you can do it in Notion, obviously. But there's but anyway, we're kind of diverging back way what we're saying. But I think the general gist is, um, don't focus on so much about the cost. Yes, the cost should be reasonable, but focus more on the result that you're hoping to get and making it easy on yourself. Because the one thing that's going to stop you from scaling your business is complexity. And I think one day we'll do another. We'll do another call on project management, not so much about tools, but about how to create SOPs and process maps, and how to use them effectively so that you can manage the expectations that you have of certain team members and get results. And this is a much bigger topic, but anyway,
We should do more lives, and I know we are at the 2 hour, we have just past 2 hour mark. But we could talk a little bit about cold email outreach and in a little more detail, right? And maybe
oh, dude, I'm not qualified to teach on it, but I mean, I'm happy to have a discussion and like
we could
today,
talk
there's,
about,
like I said, there's very specific things I do well, but asking each other these questions and getting people to contribute, I think, is the way that we can learn together.
yeah, no, and we will get some contribution. Maybe Sajwal joins us next time, or Ankit joins us next time, or Amit can join us. Anybody, right? Like who has something to talk about on the topic is most welcome. Uh,
Yeah.
Sajwal was saying, speaking of sales, I bugged a ClickUp sales agent to let me have this $6 per month unlimited plan for a solid 2 weeks. Guy didn't budge.
Nah, man, just pay the dollars and get the actual thing, man. I'm
Yeah,
telling
you
you.
get a discount though, right? You get a discount. You get like
We got
15, 20.
you, it's, why don't you share our link, our affiliate link to Join Secret? Go through Join Secret, you pay the whatever it is for the year, and you get ClickUp, and it gives you like a year free or some ridiculous thing. Anyway, you get a really sharp discount. I forget what they give you, but
So why
I'll
don't,
get,
yeah, I'm pretty sure Sajwal had joined Secret. Maybe you just get a ClickUp through them, right?
get it through there, man. Like, get it cheap. But anyway, the point is not ClickUp. The point is get the right tool for the right job. Get the best tool you can within your budget to do the job, and build a real business. Really process map it out. Like, that's what I do. Is I'll show you a process map I put together. It's really cool. By the way, I've been using Sketchwell to draw out my process maps. Man, it is awesome. It's so much fun. It's so cool. Let me just show
Sketchwell?
you.
I gotta check it.
Sketchwell. Yeah, Sketchwell. Sketchwell.
Hey, Ahmed is asking, what do you guys think of Flolu? I've never used Flolu, Ahmed, so I wouldn't be able to tell
I can't
you
comment, man.
anything.
There's just been so many of those tools, and I give up. At the end of the day, And taking nothing away from Flowloo. I've heard really good things about Flowloo. I do believe it's one of those tools that's like close to the top of that bunch of LTD tools for project management. But here's my take on it. Whether it's Flowloo or some other tool, the problem that you have with these tools that you get through LTD, not discouraging you from getting LTD tools. I buy LTDs every month, right? You have to be very careful where. Besides them going out of business and them not developing the tool on an ongoing basis, that's always a risk. So, I'd say for X number of tools that you buy, expect that probably half of them are going to do that. They're going to just go stagnant and go out of business. The other part of the problem that you face, in my opinion, in buying LTDs is there's a network effect. This is called Metcalfe's law. So if you look at ClickUp, you look at all the training that people do on YouTube for ClickUp, you look at all of the marketplace apps, you look at all of the things. Okay, the reason why the iPhone is the most valuable phone in the world is because of its marketplace with the apps that people have created for it. This is called Metcalfe's law. It's the law of networks.
Yeah.
And the networks themselves, besides the tool, besides the phone, besides the utility, the network itself creates most of the value, right? This is why the marketplace for Android and Google Play and Amazon and all of this are so valuable. So when you're making these purchasing decisions about the LTDs that you're buying for your business, be very, very careful. Be very, very skeptical. This is why we use ClickUp. This is one of the reasons why we use ClickUp. After doing all of our research, we drew upon the conclusion that ClickUp was the most appropriate solution for our business. It was either going to be Asana, ClickUp, or Monday. And then it became a choice out of Monday and ClickUp, and then we chose ClickUp. And it wasn't an easy choice. It was a hard choice. And trust me, I tried all the whatever ones that are out there. I'm not going to mention them, but there's lots of them I tried. I'm not disrespecting them. But it comes down to, well, you're expecting your team to use it. You're expecting new people to use it. You're going to be able to have to integrate it with other tools. You're going to have to be able to draw upon templates that are already existing in the community. You're going to be able to buy templates and all that kind of stuff. In order for that to be effective for your business, this comes down to Metcalfe's law. What's the network looking like? And in fact, if you're looking at buying crypto like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana and stuff like that, one of your choices should be based on Metcalfe's law. How big is the community? How many apps are developed in there? How much developer activity is there? By looking at these kind of things from this perspective, you're going to get an understanding about future predicted value, what the value of that thing is going to be in a year or two from now. You buying a tool and setting it up for your business is an investment cost. There's a cost that you're betting on. And that's a cost that you're going to lose if you decide to change direction in a year from now. You're going to have to go through the painful situation of taking your data out of one of these systems and then getting it into the new system. Very costly. It's it's like moving house. It's just hard. It just crushes your brain, right? So be very careful about that. Think about that.
Yeah. Metcalfe's law is used in telecommunications networks, so it's an interesting concept for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I was right about something.
No.
Okay,
It is true. Like the value, I think it's like proportional to the square
size
of
of the network.
total users connected in the so it is basically the network which makes it more valuable, right? Kind of thing. So
Yeah. Alrighty. I'm going to look at the surf and I'm going to go surfing.
yes, and
Do
yes, with
something.
that. Enjoy your surfing, and I think we just passed 2 hours and 15 minutes. So, but maybe we can do one more sometime this week, depending on. Are you going to go back home soon, or?
I'll be traveling. No, I'm here for about a couple of months, and then we're traveling. Probably going to move about 1,000 kilometers away, but we've got all our stuff in a container. I think if I don't mind suggesting that the next call, let's talk about project management tools.
Yeah, we can talk about project management. More than happy to talk about
mapping and then how to SOP your business a little bit, and then maybe touch it. I'll show you what we do in ClickUp and how we use it, and knowing how to use these tools properly, I think, is really important. What you should be expecting out of your project management system. Not that today's talk is about that, but it is tangentially connected, because you will have to understand what your process is. You'll have to be able to process map what you're doing, and then create SOPs, repeatable processes that anybody could do.
Yeah, not
You know,
only, the interesting part, not only do we have to use a project management tool, but we actually have to use a project manager, a qualified project manager, to actually manage the project, because you're looking at some of the most critical, like telecommunications and network type of projects. If something goes wrong, you're screwed. Like if the network goes down, I mean, nobody's going to be able to work. So those are critical type. So
well,
yeah,
not just knowing how to do SEO or web design or analytics or Cisco or whatever it is that you're selling. Not only do you have to know how to do that, you have to know how to set up a system that allows that thing to get done in a reasonable time efficient,
yes,
cost efficient manner. Uh, be able to communicate clearly with clients and set expectation. All of this is part of what you do. And you can't build a decent business unless you can set your system up to do this stuff. With cold outreach. We're talking about cold outreach today, but we're looking at just general business success. Like how do you grow a business that feeds you, pays you money, pays your employees, and it doesn't drive you crazy because it's so complex to manage this damn thing and have complaints just oozing out of the system. I've been in that situation, by the way. I've lived that nightmare, so I do not wish to relive that experience again.
yes. With that, I mean, yes, definitely talk about project management in the next session. Maybe we can do it sometime midweek. We can coordinate all that. And any of you guys, if you want to join, please let me know. Thanks again, Ahmed, Sajwal, Ankit. Sam was here earlier. Who else? Thanks everybody, and thanks a lot, Win, for doing the stream today. Hopefully, we can do one more the next week. And enjoy your surfing. So
nice joining you.
okay.
Nice seeing you, Neelish. See you, everyone. Bye.
Take care.
We're gonna take on the world. We're gonna take on the world. Standing up tall, we gotta make it our own. No waiting around. Winners would never look down. No one can stop us, we got it. The future is right in our hands. Give it 100%. We're gonna take on the world.